In 1977, a group of deaf children were put in a room together in Managua, Nicaragua. None of them could hear. None of them had ever been taught a formal sign language, and none of them knew what they were about to do. Within months, they built a language from nothing. Not a code, not a set of gestures, a real, structured, fully grammatical language, created spontaneously by children who had never seen it done. Linguists still argue about what this means, because if it means what it appears to mean, it changes everything we thought we knew about where language comes from. For most of human history, we assumed language was something you learned. Your parents spoke, you listened, you copied, you were told the rules. That was the story. Then Nicaragua broke it. Before 1977, deaf children in Nicaragua had no shared language at all. They lived in isolation, communicating with their hearing families through homemade gestures, what linguists call home signs, private systems, invented alone, understood only by the people directly around them. When the Sandinista government opened the first schools for deaf children in Managua, something unexpected happened. The teachers tried to teach the children to lip-read Spanish. It largely failed. But in the courtyards, on the buses, in the spaces between lessons, the children were doing something else entirely. They were talking to each other. The gestures started simple, rough, direct. A child pointing at an object, a handshake indicating movement, basic communication. But as more children joined the school, and as younger children entered the group, something strange happened to the language. It evolved, and it evolved fast. The older children, the ones who had built the original rough system, kept using it roughly. But the younger children, the ones who arrived after the system existed, did something different. They took the loose gestures and compressed them, refined them, added grammatical structure that had never been explicitly taught. They made it all like a language. Linguist Judy Cagle from the University of Southern Maine arrived in Nicaragua in 1986. What she found stopped her cold. The younger children were not just signing, they were signing with spatial grammar, using the space in front of their bodies to represent complex relationships between people, objects, actions, and time. Nobody taught them spatial grammar. Nobody taught them grammar at all. They built it themselves, from nothing. Cagle later described it as watching language genesis in real time. So what does this mean? The dominant theory for decades was that language was purely cultural, a tool invented and passed down, something outside the brain that the brain learned to use, like reading or arithmetic. Nicaragua destroyed that theory. What the deaf children demonstrated is what MIT linguist Noam Chomsky had argued theoretically since the 1950s, that the human brain does not simply learn language, it generates it. Somewhere inside the architecture of the human mind is what Chomsky called a universal grammar, a deep structural template that all human languages share and that emerges whether you teach it or not. The Nicaraguan children did not invent language because they were taught to. They invented it because they could not help it. The brain, given other brains to communicate with, will produce language. It is not a skill, it is a drive. But here is the part that should unsettle you slightly. The children who arrived later, the younger ones who refined and grammaticalized the system, were not smarter than the older ones. They were not more gifted. They were simply younger. And the research suggests that there is a window in early childhood during which the brain's language-generating machinery runs at full power. That window closes after roughly age 7. The brain's ability to spontaneously generate generate grammatical structure begins to decline. The older children could communicate, the younger ones could create. And the difference between those two things is the difference between a signal and a language. Researcher Anne Senghas at Columbia University spent years analysing the generational differences in Nicaraguan sign language. Her findings showed that each successive generation of younger children added layers of grammatical complexity that the previous generation had not produced. The language did not just appear, it grew, one generation of children at a time. Nicaraguan Sign Language is now a fully recognised natural language. It has its own grammar, its own dialects, its own evolution. It belongs to the roughly 7,000 languages spoken on Earth today, and it is the only one whose entire origin was directly observed and documented by scientists. Every other language on Earth emerged in the dark, in prehistory, before writing, before anyone was watching. This one happened in a schoolyard in Managua, in living memory, with researchers present. And what it showed is that language is not something humans invented. It is something humans are. Peel back the culture, remove the teaching, isolate the children, and language still comes. It rises from the architecture of the human mind, the way water rises from the ground. The children of Nicaragua did not create something new. They revealed something ancient, something that was always there, waiting in every human brain for another human brain to find it. You are not someone who learned to speak. You are something that was built to speak. The words were always inside you. You just needed someone